Hello, I'm trying to make this commentary to go along with my post, The Philosophy of Happiness, which I have here on my table, so I will sometimes refer to it. Now, we can pretty much all agree across different religions and faith is that there is a three-component idea to the human being. There is the spirit, there's the mind, and the body. And the spirit is what is closest to our creator, and just for simplicity I will call this God, but I am not referring to any specific God that is defined by a specific religion. But I think when I use the word God, most of you understand what I'm trying to refer to. So we have God as the foundation of who we are, whether we are created in His image or whether we actually are part of that divine force that unites all human beings. And then we have the mind, and then we have the body. Now, I think we can think of spirit, mind, and body as a pyramid. And the widest element is going to be the spirit. So it forms the base of the pyramid. And then the middle segment of the pyramid is the mind. And the very top, the peak, is the body. And in a sense, the width of those elements, and of course the widest element being the spirit at the very bottom, the width equals the potential of happiness, the depth of happiness. So if I may show you this illustration here, just briefly, you can see, I hope you can see it, you can see the pyramid with the base of the spirit, and then in the middle you have the mind, and at the top the body. Now I want to think of this progression throughout life as a quest of happiness or for happiness as different levels. Like, I think a computer game is a nice analogy, because you have to go through those different games in order to, through those different levels in order to proceed into the next realm of positivity and of potential for happiness. So when we are born, even though we are born in the image of the Creator or as part of the divine force, really what needs to happen is that we need to first become conscious of our body, because that is what defines us as a specific, distinct human being. The body, with its senses, lets us explore this earthly experience. So one of the first things that we go through as a baby is we realize, oh, we have hands, we have feet, these things feel good and these things feel bad. So very important stage there, which we go through when we sort of explore and define the boundaries of our physical existence. Now, if you think about it, the body is the vehicle that we use to impact our world, right? It is with the body that we touch other people. It is with the body and our hands that we craft and work. So we impact the world. It is an action that comes from us to our environment. And of course, in order to be happy, we need to have a healthy and strong body. So that is basically where everything starts, right? I think it is very difficult to talk about mind and spirit when we do not really master the basics, which is being kind to our body, taking good care of our bodies. So things like getting enough exercise, sleep, having a healthy diet, and just in general being gentle to yourself is the foundation. And if we can't manage to do that, it's going to be very difficult to progress into those more advanced levels, being the mind and the spirit. And what I observe is that a lot of people don't really advance into level number 2, the mind, and level number 3, the spirit. Or they only really advance in the early beginnings of those fields, but a lot of people unfortunately are stuck in that first level where everything really is around their direct material and bodily sensation on this earth, which in itself is not a problem. I'm not trying to judge that, but I'm just observing. So let's say you have mastered your body. You know it's important to be healthy, to have enough sleep, to exercise, to be gentle to your body. Then the next kind of realm is going to be the mind. So the mind is something very powerful, of course, as you know, and as opposed to the body, which is something that we use to impact our world, the mind receives impulses from the world and then transcribes them into a certain emotion or a certain realization. So it is a very different idea from the body. The body, we use it to impact the outer world, and the mind, we use it to translate the impulses of the world. Now, the mind is something very powerful, and we can see that when we think about spiritual people, monks, nuns, other very spiritual, intelligent people. What they will do is they will often try to seclude themselves from the busyness and noisiness of the world and dive into deep meditation and prayer and internal reflection so that they can think about the deep meanings of life. And you will find that a lot of them find great satisfaction and great happiness in those meditative states. So that's why the mind is very, very powerful. The mind also lets people who are sick or disabled or who have other limitations access a field of happiness that is sometimes very hard to conceive. That's really a level that is already hard to completely conquer. You can kind of see this in a lot of sports and martial arts, where it's really a combination of conquering your body through the physical exercise and mastering your mind by having focus and concentration. So we find that in, again, all kinds of martial arts practices, but also in yoga, for instance. And then also in religious practices, because just to take one example, if we think about fasting really is, the bodily part is having control over your body to refrain from eating and to cleanse your body. And then the mind part is, of course, since you refrain from these worldly things, you put all the energy into your thoughts and into your mind, and that leads to being in touch with a higher power, and which leads us to the spirit. Now, the spiritual plane is of course one that is very advanced and that few people can claim that they have conquered it, including myself. I can certainly not make that statement that I master the spiritual dimension of our being. But again, to repeat, the body is how you influence the world. The mind is how the world influences you and how you interpret the world. And the spirit is about who we really are, right? Whether that is the image of God or being part of the divine forces here on earth. But once we understand the very depth of the spirit, it leads, of course, to the highest amount of happiness. And in a way, if we think about it, there is a progression there that makes the previous level sort of obsolete. And you can observe that very often. I'm going to use martial arts again. At the beginning, it is all about techniques and strength and muscles. And once you have someone that goes so much further into their mind that they can basically control whether they are even vulnerable or not, right? You have seen the monks that are so strong in their mind that they can't be hurt, really. So once you have conquered that level number 2, mind, you kind of can detach yourself a little bit from the body. And then the spirit is, of course, that phase where if you master that, then body and mind sort of become obsolete. Now, we talk about, for instance, people who don't need to eat and sleep anymore because of their spirituality. We find lots of those people in Hinduism. But also Christianity has nuns and monks who don't need to eat and sleep anymore because they have reached such a close connection with the spirit. And also what I notice when I look at the pyramid and these different stages, it's kind of what every human being has to go through when we go through life, right? At the beginning, as babies, we discover our bodies. Then as youngsters and teenagers, we are focused a lot on our external appearance and about the physical pleasures in life. And as we grow older, we start asking ourselves the more serious and deep questions of life, right? What is the purpose of me being here, and what kind of legacy am I trying to leave here on this planet? And that enters in the realms of the mind. And then as we get a lot older, when you talk to people who assist others in dying, or for instance, maybe you have accompanied a loved one during their last hours in their lives, you can see that they start asking a lot of spiritual questions. The questions will be more along the lines of, was I a good person in my life? Have I touched a lot of people in a positive way? And that really gets into the spiritual realm, where we're trying to see if we have come up to our God-likeness, right? We realize that we are divine and that we are based and rooted in love, but we question whether our whole life we have actually acted accordingly. And people who have not will actually have a very hard process of dying. It's pretty rough for them. But people who do who did all the best possible things in their lives to be a force of love and help others and be selfless, you will find that they can leave this planet in a very peaceful way. So again, I hope this makes a little bit more sense when I talk in this article about the pyramid as being a mind model for happiness. Very complicated topic. You might have a lot of different opinions, and also you might find that this is rather simplified, which I would have to agree with you. But at least it is a start, and it is something that you can use to ponder on and see if that helps you in any form or fashion to pursue happiness or to conceptualize happiness. Thank you for watching this, and I'm very interested in your comments.